Eileo guys, and welcome back. Hopefully everyone's doing okay out there. And in today's video we're keeping, the whole monster list I have going on over here on the channel up to date here with Jeon Woochi. So let's go ahead and stop talking about that and get right down to business here. So Jeon Woochi, at least at the time of this video, is our newest Astromon with the Ultimate Evolution, who is a Nat 5, and he's useful in a couple of different areas in the game. But of course we're starting off with the fire one, and of course if you're new to the game, you do need 3 trinkets. Obviously the ones that are built for him, which you will know once you summon these trinkets to get the Ultimate Evolution going here. But I do have the fire one pulled up, as I've stated 18,000 times here. I will say really quickly, I think he looks awesome. His design is very bougie. I appreciate what you've done here, Smart Study. And let's go ahead and take a look at the stats first. So at level 60 he does have 31k HP, 4.2k attack, and then 3k defense. Pretty decent. I mean, he is an attacker, so the attack is a good selling point, but defense is pretty much in the balanced territory, and also the HP pool is over 30k, which is brilliant and good because this is an Ultimate Evolution Nat 5. He should be packing the stats here. And then we'll go and take a look at his skills. So right off the bat, I just want to talk about the leader skill. Critical boost, as we can read, hopefully I can read sometimes, essentially what happens here is that he boosts up the critical rate of your entire party. This is useful especially in the beginning of the game if you somehow pull a Jeon Woochi. Not saying that you should use his leader skill or not, but variant looks okay, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not as useful because it dies off very quickly, especially once you have your Astromon in your team getting enough crit rate. You don't really need that anymore. So it's like it exists and life goes on here. But both his 3 and 5 star skill for the fire type is the exact same, which is Lethal Strike. And what Lethal Strike is very good for is monsters with high defense. So Dark Sea Star, Dark Siegfried, any dark aggressor in the game who's going to be stacking a lot of defense, and of course Apophis, the big old snake guy. I keep going in between pronunciations for him because my mind can never make up how I want to call him, whatever that he is. So he's pretty much just an Apophis slash dimension defense monster, and I will say that he should also be useful inside the dimensional golems, which isn't the regular golems but the harder version of golems too, because some of those have some extremely violently, just disgusting amounts of defense here. So there's about 3 different applications you could use him in. The biggest point here is his Ultimate Evolution skill, which is Woodstalker, which increases his critical hit rate by 40% when attacking Wood Astromon. This perfectly coincides with Apophis. It just nails the coffin in there of making sure that he could damage that big old snake like a butt cheek on a stick, and also the dimensional defense golem if it's the wood type. Outside of that, nothing else kind of rings a bell here, but let's go and take a look at these skills too. So Lethal Strike on both the 3 and 5 star skill receive a 20% damage boost. Nothing spectacular, so book them if you want to, but I would probably hold off. But I would say in general his Ultimate Evolution for the fire one is definitely a big old smiley face. That is just a pure, just decent Astromon at the end of the day. Alright, and then next up here we do have the water version of Jeon Woochi, of course with his Ultimate Evolution here, who is a defender type. And let's go and take a look at these stats here. So 31k HP once again. He is a defender. It really just matters about his defense, as his class basically says here. Attack is 2.9k, doesn't really matter. Defense stat is 3.8k, pretty chunky. Maybe you could even bring him into a Titan situation depending on what your lineup is. Just keep in mind that this Astromon, unlike Bast or what was it, Carbuncle as of recently, or Kira even, he doesn't heal. Just FYI here. But let's go and take a look at these skills here. So first 3-star skill, weaken, 80% chance to weaken the enemy for 2 turns. This reduces their attack and defense, great for debuffing on the left lane of regardless of what you're doing, Apophis or Titans. Then the 5-star skill is going to be attack down, 70% chance for 3 turns, once again just debuffing and kind of trying to stack up with the weaken right here. And then for his ultimate skill is damage reduction, so upon using a super skill, reduces damage received by all allies by 40%. And I do believe the super skill activates after 2 of the 5-star skills has gone off. The 3rd time that the skill goes off, we'll see damage reduction pop up here. So, I mean, it kind of coincides with his kit of just mitigating damage and trying to keep party members alive as long as possible here. So, it's nothing to kind of rush home and be like, I have to pull all of these freaking Jeon Woochi trinkets. Though I understand, at the time of this video, his little trinket festival is over. But it's nothing to rush out and be like, I have to get this, because Water Jeon Woochi is going to be a game breaker. Said no one ever here. But taking a look at the skill books, Weaken does get a 20% damage boost and it goes up to 90% for 2 turns if I'm recalling correctly. Then it looks like Attack Up gets a 15% damage boost and goes up to 90% for 3 turns. Yeah, that's 90. So 90 and 90, not bad, but is it necessary? I feel like the percentages are already high enough here, and he, to me, is kind of like a substitute teacher for maybe Bast or even Carbuncle, even though Carbuncle has a lot lower stats than him, just purely because, you know, he can't heal. He's purely there for debuffing. There's no other utility that he brings other than debuffing, so you're still going to require some type of heal that should keep him alive here. But yeah, just your standard debuff mon, nothing really extravagant. Alright, and then next up here we have the wood version of Jeon Woochi, who is a tank type coming in with 48k HP, okay, 2.9k attack, and then also 2.9k defense. Weird stat distribution because I feel like he's ultimate evoed and his HP hasn't even broken 50k. And also he's a wood type too, so you might as well give wood something. But Smart Study, of course, is like, you know what, that's not going to happen, champ. We're going to have to say no. So his main selling point is having a whole bunch of HP, but as I've stated in prior videos here, doesn't matter how much HP that you have, if your defense is garbage or basically doesn't exist, congratulations, your Ashramon will pass away sooner than you think. But taking a look at his skills, for the 3-star skill, he has SP Siphon, which is 30%, and then for the 5-star skill, there's Recovery Seal, 90% chance to disable the enemy's recovery for 3 turns. What this brings to me is more so of just a PvP / crowd control situation where you're either dealing with mons that keep on healing themselves, like a Water Purse for example, or you're dealing with mons where you don't want them to get their 5-star skills off or their super skills because they may be ultimate evo too, which is where SP Siphon comes in. Unfortunately, I don't even need to look at the ultimate skill, but I'm going to do it anyways, which is resistance down after using his super skill, 100% chance to reduce the enemy's resistance for 3 turns. Even with that though, this Ashramon has always been dead in the water because SP Siphon is already on so many Ashramon in general and is a lot more useful on them. And Recovery Seal is nice, but that can also be a super ascension skill if you're lucky. If not, you would pick up an Ashramon hopefully with that in the 3-star skill slot and not the 5-star skill slot, because by the time that 5-star skill gets full, or by the time he gets enough SP to do it, your team may be RIP already. So this one, purely just fodder, but we will do our due diligence here and take a look at the skill book upgrades for both his skills. So SP Siphon does get a 20% damage boost and goes up by 10% to 40%, and then Recovery Seal receives a 20% damage boost and goes up to, what was that, 100% for 3 turns. And then running on ahead here, we do have the light version of Jeon Woochi, who is also an attacker type. We love to see those. He's sitting at 30k HP, 4.3k attack, and then 3k defense. Now, in order to get the light and dark mons, especially nowadays, we do have the primal festivals that happen all the time. So if you happen to miss some of these Ashramon, feel free to save up your gems. It's usually about 33k or 33,000 gems in order to hit the maximum amount, and hopefully walk out with both light and dark in case you don't get the one that you want here. So he is accessible. It's more so of just patience, and of course the ultimate evolution RNG with the trinkets here. But overall, his stat distribution is pretty much that of the fire one, which I've already stated before. Perfectly fine. I have no issues with it whatsoever, though my opinion really doesn't matter. But taking a look at the skills, for the 3-star skill, there's Lethal Strike, which we've covered already. And then the 5-star skill is going to be a shield based off his own max attack power. So the more attack that this bad boy has, the more potent his shield would be. And his ultimate skill is going to be Hunter, which increases critical hit damage by 50% against enemies with lowered attack power. Once again, this just screams Apophis. I mean, at this point, it is what it is. I think he's a decent Ashramon, especially with this buff, giving him a little bit more damage to kind of help compensate for that lack of 5-star skill with like double Lethal Strike, which would be bonkers here. But taking a look at the skill books, Lethal Strike does receive a 20% damage boost, and the shield receives a 25% damage boost. Nothing chunky, but yeah, I think Light Jeon Woochi's good. So far, it looks like the fire and light ones are the most prominent ones, but we have one more left. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. We have the dark version of Ultimate Evo Jeon Woochi, who is also an attacker type. We love to see that. I forgot to mention with the light one of that innate higher crit rate, because the dark one has that innate higher crit damage. So make sure you get that bad boy in ruin here. But anyways, the dark one is sitting at nearly 30k HP, 4.2k attack, and then 2.8k defense. So they had to like nerf him slightly because of that whole crit damage. So they want to make him a little bit more frail for whatever reason. I guess that's just their way of balancing things out here. But let's take a look at these skills, man. Because I've already talked about his stat distribution. We need the skills. So the 3-star skill is going to be Courageous Strike, which is very useful against the Titans, or if you want to be lazy, also the Colossus or Colossi, depending on which one you're fighting here. Outside of that, I don't really find Courageous Strike useful. I mean, you can walk around PvE with a Courageous Striker, no one's going to say anything, but PvP is just like a weird flex, but okay. And then for his 5-star skill, it's going to be Attack Down, 80% chance to reduce the enemy's attack for 3 turns. Now, I remember talking about Dark Jeon Woochi a while back of my kind of outdated tier list now in regards to just Dark Courageous Strikers in general. Because he doesn't have that double Courageous Strike, his damage isn't super reliable. However, if you take a look at this skill, which is his ultimate skill, aka Persevere, which increases his attack power by 10% as each turn passes, up to 5 times, and it's specifically against light type enemies, aka the Light Titan, things do get a little bit interesting here. So even though his variant skill is just useless in general, in theory with a, 4.2k attack stat, some dirt nasty, just disgusting crit damage, and his Courageous Strike fully booked up, which we do need to take a look at his skill books, he could definitely out damage Dark Indra on a good run. That's implying that he never gets to do his 5-star skill because of that Persevere, increasing the damage of his 3-star skill by 50% at the end of the day. Like, his damage output, especially with this update, kind of elevated him. Not so much over Dark Indra, where it's like basically Dark Indra's dead in the water, but on a good run, I would not be surprised if I saw a Dark Jeon Woochi, you know, out damage a Dark Indra. But taking a look at the skill books, for Courageous Strike, there's a 20% damage increase, and for Attack Down, there's a 20% damage increase, and it goes up to, 90% for 3 turns. Not bad, but nothing spectacular either. If you could like dump that all into Courageous Strike and just leave Attack Down, I don't see any issues with that whatsoever, but RNG is what RNG is. I think overall, I mean, these Ultimate Evolutions is a nice improvement. I like that even though they don't have, you know, Lethal Strike on both skills or Courageous Strike on both skills for the Light and Dark Ashramon here, that their Ultimate Evolution ability kind of synergizes with their kit to kind of give them a little bit more damage or a little bit more edge than what they had before without necessarily changing their kit, even though Smart Study could obviously do that. Now, of course, right before we end the video here, I haven't forgotten the whole tier list thing. Once again, this is just one man's opinion on the internet here. You know, this is just advice. It is professional, but it's unlicensed. So starting off with the lovely Dark Jeon Woochi, definitely S tier Ashramon, especially with the Ultimate Evolution, followed by the Light one. Depending on your application, the Light one could be better than the Dark one, because if you do Apophis more than Titans, or if Apophis is more of your interest, obviously the Light one is going to be more prominent for you, while if you do Titans more than Apophis and don't care about it, the Dark one is going to be more prominent. Followed by that, Woodstalker with double Lethal Strike. Go ahead, just get him. Get him right now. Get him to Evo 3. Ultimate Evo him right now. Outside of that, I would probably give the Water one a B tier slot, just because he does have Weaken and Attack Down, but him having to have a healer on that side instead of having either like Bast or Carbuncle or some other Ashramon that can do Weaken or debuffing properties to their skills and also heal the squad, kind of knocks him down, because it almost feels like a wasted slot. And then the Wood's just trash, man. He's just purely D tier / fodder. But that is the updated video of Jeon Woochi. You guys, feel free to leave in the comments below about what you guys think about him. How is your Dark Jeon Woochi performing, if you have one that's Dark and Ultimate Evo'd, or even the Light one? Because your boy's been going a little bit ham and Apophis as of lately, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have. If there's any other Ashramon reviews that need updating that you guys come across, feel free to leave that in the comments below or on that video. I would love to update that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. See ya.